Hey guys, Marsengan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to talk a little bit about the Cell Max event that has just come out on Global and JP. Obviously with JP having a few extra better int units and some easy A's, this event is a little bit easier on JP, but still obviously very, very difficult. I've seen a lot of people complaining about how difficult it is. I've also seen a lot of people saying that they think Broly might technically be harder. And I guess, whilst I disagree, I suppose there are different arguments for it, right? Like, units that can dodge, that would get absolutely destroyed by Broly because dodge is disabled, can be good in this event. And then obviously there are certain units that will be bad in this event that would be good against Broly. So it's definitely an interesting one. You guys will have to let me know what you think down below in the comment section. But, I mean, I know for me, I didn't find Broly anywhere near as difficult as Cell Max. But one of the things you have to remember is Cell Max released for both versions of the game at the same time. So Global had no, like, time to prepare. We didn't know what the event was going to be. We hadn't already seen, like, runs on JP and stuff like that. Whereas obviously when it comes to the red zone, not only did we have new units that weren't available when JP got it, but you know, we'd already seen teams that could beat those stages. So it's definitely an interesting one. So in this video, I wanted to highlight a couple of units that are actually very, very good against Cell Max. A couple of which you might not think of. Obviously, I know on Twitter, I've seen a lot of people talking about some of these units. But then I have to remember sometimes that there's a lot of you guys out there, people tell me in the comment sections and stuff all the time, people out there who don't have Twitter, are not in like group chats and Facebook groups and stuff like that, and you get a lot of your information just from videos, so you may not know this information. So I'm going to cover a couple of units that I wanted to give shout outs to who aren't particularly old, but are very, very good. And one of the #1 units that I've seen people use, and this unit is kind of a double-edged sword. I won't go as far as to say this unit is just flat out like super good against Cell Max, and that is the Tech Goku and Vegeta that fuse into Gogeta. So the reason why this unit is good for this event, and pretty much the one reason why this unit is good for the event, is obviously once you transform into Super Gogeta, you get the Scouter effect for 5 turns. So the Scouter effect was often referred to, or has been in the past many times, as one of the best mechanics in the game. And, you know, it's hard to deny with this Cell Max event that that probably is true. Because there are certain int units that even with, like, you know, 400k defense, they will just get one-shot by Cell Max's super attack, which is insane, right? So a boss that can one-shot like 95% of the units in the game, it's pretty good to know where they're going to super attack. So Scouter effect is obviously very, very good. The only downside to using this unit is once you have fused into Gogeta, even post super attack, this unit can take anywhere between like 150 and 300k from normal attacks. Normal attacks from Cell Max. So obviously if it gets hit with a super, you are just dead straight up. And this is with the little bit of damage reduction that he has for the 5 turns as well. So it is a double-edged sword, like I said, dangerous to use this unit in terms of him having to actually take a bunch of attacks, but the Scouter effect is almost priceless. And some of the units that we're going to talk about can counteract the fact that this guy will take a lot of damage, and you'll see what I mean when we get to them. And then the other unit I wanted to give a shout out to, because obviously I've seen a few people use this guy as well, is the Intui Goku. So for a while, even when he got his easy A, because in his pre-transformed state he has no dodge, a lot of people still obviously value the 2 LRs over this UI Goku. But this UI Goku is actually very, very good for the Cell Max event, because not only is the final stage tech, so he has type advantage, obviously a benefit, he infinitely stacks, and the first 2 phases are super easy. That's one of the things you have to remember when you're building teams and you're thinking about how to beat this event, is the STR and the physical phase. Even though the physical phase does the attack all, these 2 stages are super, super weak. Even after, like, you can put this guy in slot 1 on turn 1, and as long as he doesn't get supered, he's not going to take that much damage, and then he gets some supers off, and you're going to be all good. So one of the things I've noticed as well, if you are going to use stacking units, any units on your team who don't stack, and therefore don't need to super, in the early phases against the STR and the physical Cell, just don't get super attacks with them. And that obviously means you do less damage overall, you get more time in those easy phases, and then that gives your stacking units more chance to stack. Then, if you drop below 50% HP at any point, now obviously this would be super beneficial if this can happen during the actual final phase against Cell Max, but when you drop below 50% HP, you transform into Ultra Instinct, and of course on the turn you transform, you have a 100% chance to dodge. So obviously, in this event where dodge isn't disabled, on the turn that Intui Goku transforms, he's the best unit in the game for this event, because he has a 100% chance to dodge, has type advantage, he's still stacking on his super, so obviously you can do decent damage with him, so he is just an out and out great unit. It doesn't give you a heal, which can be good because it doesn't interfere with the active skills of other units as well. But yeah, the turn this guy transforms, he's literally invincible, and then obviously the final phase is tech, so you can build up this attack and defense to pretty reasonable numbers. And then last but not least, in terms of the units that are not exactly super old that I wanted to shout out, is our boy Int Broly. I've said for years, well, he's been out like a year and a half, that this guy's the most underrated Dokkan Fest of 2021. I was trying a run earlier with him on obviously a 170 league, because he doesn't have a 200% leader skill yet, and on turn 1 in slot 1, he takes double digit damage from normal attacks. So obviously once he starts building up, he not only raises attack and defense with each super attack, he has damage reduction. It's only 18% because you're not fighting a pure or hybrid Saiyan, so whilst that's not a huge amount of damage reduction, he of course also has type advantage, so by the time you reach that final stage, you've stacked up a whole bunch of defense. His defense is very high, he has a little bit of damage reduction, and he can be spitting out a ton of damage, especially once you've done 4 supers. You can do his active skill, which gives him a 60% attack buff. It also gives him extra ki and attacks effective against all types, but those two aren't super important because it's pretty easy for him to get ki anyway. He gives himself 3 ki at the start of the turn, and he doesn't need to be effective against all types because you're fighting a tech enemy anyway. But he's going to do big damage on this turn, so that's the turn where you really want to get that God RNG and get multiple supers, because I've had him in the winning run that I did. If I remember rightly, the turn that I used his active skill, he was throwing out like 5 million attack stats, and if you can get like 3 supers in that turn, then obviously that is big damage to taking out Cell. But then we get on to the 3 units that I mainly wanted to talk about, and the thing is, these units' abilities can be used to shore up the weaknesses of some of these other units, like the Tech Gogeta. So the first one is our boy AGL Pycon. That's right, an AGL unit that was released in 2020 on JP, 2021 in Global, is very good against the hardest tech boss in the game. Now the reason for that, obviously, is his active skill. His active skill can be used when facing only one enemy whose HP is 50% or more, starting from the 4th turn of the battle. So literally, when you get into the first turn of Cell Max, unless you've beaten the first 2 stages in like 1 turn each, then you can use this active skill immediately. As soon as you get to Cell Max, you can use this active skill. And this active skill is, of course, a Ghost Usher for 1 turn. It just completely removes all the attacks for that 1 turn. So, of course, what you want to try to do if you use Pycon, you want to try and have him coming into the first turn of Cell Max, and then obviously float him off into slot 3, so then he's not coming back for another 3 turns, because ideally you don't want him to have to take any attacks from Cell Max. Now, as long as you pick up 1 Rainbow Orb, then he has a 50% chance to dodge, and so at that point you just have to get lucky, right? If you've used his active skill and then 3 turns pass and he's back on the turn and there's an attack in every slot, you've got to pray for that 50% RNG to dodge, because otherwise he will take a lot of damage. But by combining him with other units, like the fact that, you know, running the LR Gods or the LR Super Saiyan 4s, all of the actual big damage units, Ghost Ushering a whole turn away and then this guy not coming back for 3 turns, you can kill Cell Max in that time. And then again, obviously if he comes back, just got to pray for the dodge chance. So he also is a support for all the super types if you pick up his type orbs, so that's obviously super beneficial to the rest of the team as well. So this unit is very, very good. Then we have the tech androids, and of course the reason that they are here is exactly the same. Their active skill is a 1-turn Ghost Usher, can be activated when facing only 1 enemy whose HP is 35% or more, or when facing 3 or more enemies. So again, Turn 1, you can Ghost Usher. They're an orb changer. They get a lot of buffs if you pick up a lot of tech orbs. So they can actually be very good anyway, as long as you get enough tech orbs. Or ideally, you want them to super attack first, so they raise their defense. The only thing I will say about them is without any kind of stacking, even if you get a lot of tech orbs and it's post-super, if they get hit by Cell Max's super attack, they will die. So, just like Pycon, obviously. So, some of these units, it's their utility that is giving them this value. Because I've seen people, no joke, posting screenshots of using both Hercule and, Pycon and the tech androids on a team where they're not even getting a leader skill. Because the first 2 phases are so easy, and then you get to the final phase, and you just use the active skill to Ghost Usher away the turn, put them in slot 3, and then they're not getting, they're not on the rotation for 3 turns. So you ideally just have to beat him by then, because then obviously, especially if you are not running them under a leader skill, when they come back, they're just going to get absolutely destroyed. And then the final unit, I already accidentally made a slip of the tongue and mentioned who it is, but that is of course our boy Hercules. This unit, even on global, is over 3 years old and is almost 4 years old on JP, and yet this guy is actually good in this event. He doesn't even have an easy A yet. It's crazy. So he obviously does literally no damage throughout the entire event, even in the final phase. But he has a 50% chance to dodge, and then he has damage reduction of 50 to 90% based on the less HP you have. But this works in a really odd way, where he can actually get more damage reduction as the turn goes on. So I've seen screenshots against difficult bosses where he could take a hit when you're on like full health, and take like 50k, 100k, 150k, and then he takes the next hit and takes double-digit damage, because this actually does change mid-turn based on your HP, which makes him almost invaluable for this Cell event, because not only can he dodge, but even against Tech Cell Max, if he gets hit and actually takes a little bit of damage, it pretty much guarantees that the next time he gets hit, he's barely going to take any damage. Now again, he's probably not going to eat a super, especially if you're on full health at the start of the turn and he gets hit in slot 1. But with all the other factors like dodging, if you're on low health, he's going to have massive damage reduction. He could potentially survive in the right situation. But again, this is a unit that if you want to gamble on RNG, people have beaten it with him on the team without him even getting the leader skill because of the dodge plus the damage reduction. Because in the final phase, at least against the normal attacks, if he doesn't have a leader skill, type advantage and 90% damage reduction. He's still going to take damage. He's not going to be taking like double digits. But he's actually potentially still going to survive. So these guys, very, very useful. So these 3 are the key, like 3 older units. I guess the tech androids, to be fair, are not very old at all. They came out this year on global, but they're still like 7 months ago. But yeah, this guy almost 4 years old. This guy, couple of years old. Crazy, crazy good. Do not underestimate these guys. And obviously the Scouter effect of this guy is fantastic as well. So let me know your thoughts down below. Who do you think are the secret weapons against Cell Max? Have you beaten the stage yet? Discuss your team builds and all that stuff down below in the comments section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.